Hello, in this tutorial we will be making a stage complete with some red curtains and a wood floor all with inside of Photoshop. It'll be a little bit longer, but feel free to stick with it even if you're beginning because it's going to be pretty cool. Alright, all I have is a 17 by 11 document at 100 pixels per inch. You're going to want to have a high resolution if you're going to be printing. Alright, so to get started, let's create a new layer by clicking on the new layer icon down here. And grab your rectangular marquee tool by pressing M on your keyboard or over here in the toolbar. And just drag out kind of a rough rectangular selection, something like that. And we're going to want to fill that with a 50% gray. So go up to Edit and then Fill and choose 50% gray and click OK. Then we can deselect by pressing Command D on a Mac or Control D on a PC. And let's fill that layer with a filter. So go down to Filter and let's choose Render and go down to Fibers. And I'm going to use a strength of 52 and a variance of 9. Your settings might be a little bit different based on the size of your document. And I'm just looking for an even tone of fibers, so click randomize until you find something you like. I think I like that one, and you can click OK. And we're going to want to blur that, so go up to Filter, go down to Blur, go down to Motion Blur, and choose an angle of 90 and a distance, and just punch that all the way to the right, and click OK. You want to do another motion blur on that, so go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, once more, angle of 0 this time, and let's bring that down to a distance of about 15 or so and click OK. Now let's bring up Free Transform by pressing Command T on the Mac, Control T on the PC, and holding on your Shift and Option keys, that's Shift and Alt on a PC. Let's drag outwards to fill the whole document. And it's not red, so let's change that. Let's go make a new adjustment layer. So go down to your half white, half black icon down here and choose solid color. And let's just choose a nice red, something like that. Click OK. And change the blend mode of that layer from normal to multiply. And then we have our curtains. So hold down Command Option Shift E on a Mac, Control Alt Shift E on a PC, and that will bring everything up on its own layer. And we can actually turn these two layers off because we won't even need them anymore. And hold down Command J or Control J on a PC to duplicate that layer about 3 times. So we have 4 total layers of that curtain. You can turn the top 2 off, and on the second most layer there, you can split it in 2. So grab your rectangular marquee tool again, and with about half of it selected, hold down your Command Shift J on a Mac, Control Shift J on a PC, and that will split that layer in half. Do the same thing to the next layer. Grab your marquee tool and Command Shift J on a Mac, Control Shift J on a PC, and that will split it in half. Now we're actually going to make our curtain. So turn the top 3 layers off, and on that second most layer again, we're going to bring it Free Transform, Command T on a Mac, Control T on a PC. We're just going to drag that over, something like that. And let's bring up Warp. So go down to right click and go down to Warp, and let's bring this center in a little bit. Bring down this side, something like that, and let's bring the top a little bit. So that looks good. Let's do the same thing to the other side. So turn on the next layer and Command T on the Mac, Control T on the PC, and just hold down your Shift key and drag that over just like that. Right click and go down to Warp. Bring the center in, something like that, and bring this bottom in and this top, something like that looks good. And then we're going to do similar things on the next 2 layers. So grab that next layer and Command T on the Mac, Control T on the PC, and let's rotate that in. And bring it up in the side, something like that, and bring up Warp one more time. Oops. Bring up Warp and bring these side handles in so you get something like that. Alright, that looks good. And let's do the same thing to the other side. So turn on that next layer, Command T on the Mac, Control T on the PC, rotate it in, and drag it up in the corner. Right click and choose Warp. And just bring those side handles in one more time. Center just like that, and something like that looks good. Alright, we're going to do a similar thing to create a top curtain too. So turn that top layer on and Command T on the Mac, Control T on the PC, and let's rotate it all the way 90 degrees. Let's bring it up just a little bit. Bring up Warp one more time and bring up those side handles so we get something that looks like that. And bring up your Move tool and let's just move that up. So actually, let's move that top layer so it's below those top curtains. So let's bring it right in the middle of the stack of layers there. So, all right, now that we have the basis for our curtains, let's bring in our wood floor. So if you go over to the open up the wood.jpg document, we're going to select all by pressing Command A. on a Mac, Control A on a PC, and copy that. So go down to Edit and then Copy. Let's go back to our stage here and go down to Edit and then Paste. Alright, now with our Move tool, we're just going to move it right somewhere around here, and we're going to make a duplicate of that layer, so press Command J on a Mac, Control J on a PC. Let's just drag that over, holding down the Shift key until it matches up with the other one like that. And let's merge those two layers together by pressing Command E on a Mac, Control E on a PC, and that'll bring those on their own layer. So let's bring that wood floor down to where it needs to be, so let's drag it below all of these curtains. Actually, just for organization, let's group these layers together. Let's select all of these by holding down the Shift key and pressing Command G on the Mac, Control G on the PC. And let's rename those front curtains. Alright, that's a little bit easier now. Alright, so with that wood floor selected, let's bring up Free Transform, Command T, and let's go down here to Perspective, and let's drag these side handles in a little bit. Let's drag this down. And you might have to zoom out a little bit, but let's bring these handles in, something like this, just so we cover the sides and so it looks like an actual stage. Let's bring these handles out. Something like that looks pretty good. Now this back curtain here doesn't look real realistic because it's that hard line right there, so let's kind of make a nice transition between those two. So with that back layer selected, we're going to make a new layer here, and let's drag that new layer below that curtain there. And let's fill that layer with black. So go down to Edit, Fill, and choose Black. Click OK, and you won't see anything because the curtain layer is hiding it. Now let's select that curtain layer and add a layer mask. So go down to your layer mask icon. We're going to want to fill that layer mask with black. So go down to Edit and then Fill, and choose Black, and click OK. And that will fill that with black. That's hiding that curtain layer because on a layer mask, black hides and white reveals. So what we want to do is grab your brush tool by pressing B on the keyboard over here in the options bar or the tools bar, and then with about 150 pixel brush with the hardness set to 100 and opacity at 100, we're just going to click once right here, and with our foreground color set to white, we're just going to click once right about here. That will reveal that back curtain layer, and go over here to your layer mask and hold down the Option key, that's Alt on the PC, and Option click on that layer mask, and that will bring up what the layer mask actually looks like. So, and then on that layer mask, Command click, that's Control click on a PC, and that will select what is currently on that layer mask. Bring up Free Transform by holding down Command Option T on a Mac or Control Alt T on a PC, and click once and hold down your Option and Shift keys, it's Alt Shift on a PC, and just drag to the left until they just barely touch, something like that. Hit Enter, and then hold down Command Option Shift T, that's Control Alt Shift T on a PC, and just do that several times until you go all the way across. That is what's called a step and repeat. Alright, then on that layer mask, Option click one more time to get back to the full layer view, and grab your rectangular marquee tool and just select the top half of those circles there, and let's fill that layer mask with white to reveal the curtain layer. So Edit, Fill, and choose White. And there we go, we have something a little bit more realistic. And let's just put a quick Gaussian blur on that curtain so it looks a little bit more realistic. Go up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian blur, choose something around 15 pixels or so, click OK. And let's reduce the opacity of the actual curtain layer to somewhere around 40% or so. That looks pretty good. You can just press the 4 on your keyboard to quickly get to 40%. And there you go. End of part 1.